If someone could please explain to me how we're meant to balance 3 liters of water a day, gym 5 times a week, a thriving 9 to 5, a side hustle that makes us extra money, spending time with family, spending time with friends, cooking healthy meals, living a balanced life, but also traveling and feeling well rested. If someone could just please explain how we're meant to do that, then I'd be ever so grateful. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Chrissie. Nice to meet you if we haven't met yet, and if you've been here before, welcome. In my 25 years on this earth, I have learned a considerable amount, especially in the last 2 years. And if you'd like to hear more about how I've semi-hacked adulting, then keep watching. First up, saying no. Guys, as a recovering people pleaser, I can tell you now that being able to say no will be your superpower. I have exhausted myself going above and beyond and saying yes just to please, just to be liked, just to appease, just to, I don't know why, actually, now that I think about it. But as someone who's learned to be the one to not rock the boat, to not say anything, to be nice, be kind, I have had to relearn how to say no in the last few years, and it has filled me up, put it that way. It has filled me up. I think, especially at this time in our life, we're so quick to appease or to keep people around or to just be seen as like the calm, cool person that someone can always rely on. But let me tell you now, you will exhaust yourself and also keep yourself behind by constantly saying yes and not learning to have your boundaries, I guess. I really hate that word. I feel like it's such a buzzword for therapy, but genuinely, learning to say no has been my superpower. It has been freeing. It has been so freeing to not feel obligated to do anything. And whilst there's a fine balance between being giving and being kind and kind of being open to everything around you, I think it's important to know your limits. And you start to walk on people-pleasing territories when you don't know when to say yes and when to say no. So let me tell you now, once you learn to say no, that will be your superpower. Next up, budgeting. So I have taken things to the extreme, and for the last 8 weeks, I've been on a no spend challenge, which I plan to do for the rest of the year. And honestly, I didn't expect my money mindset to change so much in that time, but it has been, again, freeing. I think for the last year, I've been slowly trying to get better at my finances and be more intentional about it. And I think it's so important to stay ahead of this from early. Like, I'm only 25 and I wish I'd started earlier, but there is so much you can gain from being in charge of your money as opposed to letting it manage you. It's so easy to have it be one of those things that's super scary and feel like you just don't want to have anything to do with it. So you stick your head in the sand and you spend how you can, or you don't intentionally set money goals. But I know for a fact that had I started earlier, I would have been a little bit more ahead. But again, I'm only 25, so But starting now is going to do wonders for me in the future because compound interest is a thing. This also comes down to like negotiating money throughout your career, understanding how much your field should be paid. Like, things like this will be so, so, so helpful to making sure that you're making as much as you can to reach like a stage of financial freedom. And I cannot stress enough how easy it is to just ignore your finances, and it will be a slippery slope before you realize how much you're either spending or how little you've planned for yourself. It's like just going into the world without protection. Like, I think over the last 8 weeks while I've been doing the no spend challenge, even though I thought I was on top of my finances, I have learned an incredible amount around specifically money mindset and just how I thought about money in the past. And I think it's going to be invaluable to me moving forward. And if I could recommend anything to anyone in their 20s, is to just get your money right from now. Next, calendars. I have planned every little detail, every little thing I need to remember into a calendar. And I only started doing this recently, but my goodness, when I tell you, it has changed how my brain capacity has been able to function, because I don't have to constantly try and remember things, remember what I have on each day. Adulting in itself is an overwhelming experience. So the easier you make your life from the beginning, the easier things will be. I'm telling you now, start putting things in your calendar. This is what mine looks like. My life does not work without a calendar. I think there's a point in your 20s where you go from trying to juggle everything with an imaginary list in your brain to getting a calendar. And there is a switch, there is a calming switch when that does happen. If my calendar wipes today, I would just stare at the ceiling. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's going on. I will sit here. However, now I feel like I'm more in control and I'm a lot less overwhelmed by all the things I have to do because they have a place and time, and I can just focus on what I need to be doing for the next hour or for the next day. So, if you value your time, I'm really not big on like the like productivity and efficiency like scientific tools. I find them really difficult to like get to grips with, but I think the one thing that I can say is putting everything into your calendar makes life so much easier and so much more doable. I know it can be easy to kind of like see everything in front of you, all of your adulting responsibilities, and just say no to all of them because it's too much. But I think having a calendar and spreading them out, it's like having a personal assistant in a way, you know? So why not? Why not make your life easier? Get comfortable with doing things alone. Now, I will be the first one to say that community is so important, and I love shared experiences with people. Like I don't prefer solo vacations. I much prefer a shared experience. However, I think it's so important to be confident in doing things alone. So while it might not be your first choice, don't let having company be your only choice, because then that means you're constantly waiting on people to do things. I have had 2 solo trips so far for no particular reason. Then I just thought, let me go alone, and they are such invaluable experience that if I wasn't comfortable being alone, they probably would have just been filled with anxiety. And again, as I said, I love a shared experience. I think building friendship, building community, building a village around you is so important. But just as much so, it's important to build a village inside of you. Ooh, that was a good line. It's so important to build a village inside of you where you're comfortable kind of exploring the world alone, because as we get older, we get busier, we we lose friends, we, like time isn't the same as when we're younger, and it's so important to just be able to be like, I want to do this when I want to do it and move to the beat of your own drum. So get used to doing things alone. Like I have shot on busy streets. I have shot content on busy streets alone with me and my tripod because everyone else was busy. I have visited countries alone. I have gone out for dinner alone. And I think whilst, again, I'd prefer to do it with someone else, it's so important to be able to spend time with yourself to A, learn yourself, B, and just be able to experience things without needing to be with someone. So do things alone. Don't lose your spark. This is such an airy, fairy, I guess, tip hack, but it's so easy to kind of get bogged down by all the responsibility you have as an adult, or from how, not depressing, because I don't want to describe it as depressing, but sometimes it can be demotivating. And it's so easy to lose the spark inside of you that you had growing up, of all the hopes, dreams, and things that you wanted to try, just because you don't want to fail anymore, you don't want people to see you trying, or you think you're too old to try something new, so you end up losing the will and the drive to do things. You just kind of get stuck in a routine. And I think that's one of the worst things that we can do, because you sell yourself short earlier because you've kind of put yourself in a box before you even knew to. There are people who have started incredible businesses or changed their lives in their 50s and onwards because they managed to keep that spark. And I think this happens to me sometimes, where like if something didn't work out the way that I wanted to, or I might have failed at something, I lose a little bit of light. And it's okay to lose your light for some days because you feel like, you're a bit down, you're a bit demotivated, but you have to bounce back. You have to keep trying, because I think the more of those experiences that you have, the better you learn to always keep that spark with you. Because there's going to be a lot of no's, there's going to be a lot of rejection, there's going to be a lot of times that things don't go your way, or how you plan them out to, or they're not happening on the timing that you want them to. And if you continue to let that be the driver, then you'll reach a certain age where you just stop trying. And I'd never want to get to a place where I stop trying because of how many no's I've heard. I'd want to keep trying because I know that there's a yes coming along the way, or because there's bigger things to be doing. I think, yeah, don't lose your spark throughout the down times, because this adulting journey, there's a lot of downs, there's a lot of tears, there's a lot of why are things going this way. But I think if you can keep your spark within that, you can form something really beautiful out of your adulting years. So, yeah. I think this ties in really nicely with my last point, but I think accepting the ambiguity and the mess of adulting is such a big part of the experience. 20s, I've come to realize, with my 25 years walking on this earth, I have come to realize that a lot of it doesn't make sense. A lot of us are just winging it. We're hoping it works. There's a lot going on at once. We're changing, we're growing. The people around us are changing and growing. Half of our friends are engaged or pregnant, and the other half are still trying to figure out how to use the microwave. We're all in such different stages, and it's so messy. Some of us are starting over. Some of us are having like an amazing time, like building incredible businesses that are worth millions. Like, it's just such a noisy period to be in. And it's so easy to kind of not enjoy the journey while you're going through it just because you're going through it. But it's important to kind of accept that this part of our lives is going to be as ambiguous as it gets. It's going to be as messy as it gets. And it might not get easier at all, but it's part of the ride. Like, you're just on the roller coaster. It's part of the ride. There's smoother parts of the ride. There's scarier parts of the ride. There's dizzier parts of the ride. Like, it's just one big ride. And we kind of have to just be down for it either way. Like, there's this TikTok that's like, you know, when you're crying about something and then you realize that this will make a good chapter in your book, that is the energy you have to come into your 20s with, because there is so much bleh, like there's so much mess. It's so tangled. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know where you're going. You don't know if anything you're trying is going to work. And if you get too bogged down by that, you end up missing out on the journey because you were too sad to enjoy it. And you don't want to look back and not enjoy the middle of it just because you're trying to get to the end. I don't know if I'm waffling now, but I think the point that I'm trying to make is that no matter what, we're all living very ambiguous and messy lives, and we're trying to hold on to it as much as possible, and we're trying to be in control as much as possible. And there's so many things that we can be in control of, but there's so many things that we cannot be in control of. And during those times, we just have to keep our head high. Like, otherwise, we'll just spend a lot of time really sad and really down and crying all the time. And I think it's just important to just go with the flow sometimes. Just ride the wave and see where it takes you. So I think this is something that I want to do more often. I really enjoy kind of like reflecting on the process of adulting because I find it so fascinating. It's insane. Like, it's absolutely crazy. It's insane, this journey that we've been made to go on. And I think as I learn throughout it, I just like reflecting on it. So yeah, that was part one of adulting habits that have improved my life. I'll see you in part two. If you like these videos, then don't forget to subscribe. I'd love to hear your adulting hacks down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.